Welcome back! By now you should be quite happy with the process of creating a canvas, and you have a couple of default canvas sizes that you're going to use. So in this video, our three things will be to find where the brushes live, select a random brush to put some pixels on our canvas with. Then we are going to find out where the layers live and how to add and delete a layer, and similarly where the eraser tool is and how to use it. So I'm going to go to my plus sign up in the top right hand corner. Tap on that. I'm going to choose my square canvas because that's my default one of choice. Resize it slightly because I like to see the edges of it. And then we're still working in the top right hand corner with these icons now within the canvas. So there's this brush icon, it's blued out, fairly self-explanatory. And we're going to tap on it and you can see it shows us this brush library. And there are all of these various different categories, but at the very top here you'll see Ali's favorites. Now this is where I've created my own favorite brush set, which I will share with you shortly. And we're just going to choose one. So I'm going to choose this gel pen because it's smooth and easy, and we'll use that. Tap on it to select it, and then tap back to the canvas. And then we can just start to draw. So here we are drawing on our canvas using the gel pen. The next thing we said we were going to do is locate the layers section. So if you look next to this bright pink spot on the left, you can see these two squares. We tap on them and you can see that that is where the layers live. So we currently have a background layer, which is not called a layer at all, it's just called background color. Then we have layer number 1, and that's how every canvas comes out as a default when you first create it. If you want to add a layer, perfectly self-explanatory, tap on the plus, and there you have layer number 2. Another layer, layer number 3, and it will just keep adding the layers in consecutive numbers like that. How do we work with the layers if we want to label them? Because it's always a good idea to give your labels meaningful names. So we're going to tap on that. If I tap on it again, I get this number of options that I can use. So I can rename and just type in I'm going to call this the sketch layer for now. Okay. Let's tap again and see what else we can do. We can copy the layer. We can clear the layer. Let's try that. If we clear the layer, it just erases everything on the layer. So we know that if we do that at the very beginning of the process, it's pretty useful for just scrapping what we've done. But if we do it at the end of the process, we could lose a whole lot of work and get very, very grumpy. So that's all we're going to look for at the moment, is we're looking at rename the layer. We're looking at clearing the layer, and we're going to ignore everything else for now. Now what happens if I decide that layer 2 and layer 3 that I've added above there are surplus to requirements? Well, you remember that to get rid of anything, if we tap and swipe to the left, we can delete. So that's what I'm going to do. Tap and swipe left and delete, and there go those layers. So that's all we need to do with layers for now. That's a quick layer orientation. I'm going to put some work back here because I want to show you the erase tool. So there, these are literally just scribbles, and here next to the next to the layer tool on the left of it, we've got the eraser. This is our erase button. So our eraser comes in all the same brushes as our actual brushes. So I'm going to match my eraser brush to my gel pen, which I was using to draw with, and then I can go in here and I can erase what I had. Now, something which is common to both the brush section and the erase section is these controls far over on the left hand side of the screen. So let's have a look at these controls. The top control determines the size of the tip of our brush. So if I slide it down like this, hold and slide, I get a thinner brush. If I take it all the way to the top, that's the thickest I'm going to get here. This bottom sliding control is the opacity of the brush. So if I have it all the way to the top, that's 100% opacity. And if I have it only halfway, it's much paler. 25% of the way, much paler, all the way down to almost invisibly pale. And as you hold and tap, you can see it gives us a percentage. So we've got a brush opacity of 4%, 17, 47, 80, all the way up to 100. So you can figure out quite scientifically what your brush is. Similarly with your erase tool. If you want a massive eraser, that's the biggest you're going to get for the gel pen. So if you really want to erase this whole page, you're either going to have to go and clear the layer, or we'll find something. You can see the gel pen here is quite a skinny little nib. So if we choose something like this round brush, which looks as like it's got a much fatter stroke, and we go back in and rub out with that, make it all the way to the top, you can see that's pretty large now, and I can just erase like this. Now, with the eraser tool as well, we can decide what percentage you want to erase. So 100% obviously would be your default. You want to get rid of everything. But if you wanted to just take some of it off, if you just wanted to lighten things, then you can erase a lesser percentage than 100, and it will give you a paler effect. So that's all we're going to look at for now. We've looked at how to use our brushes, and we chose a random brush out of Ali's favorites, and I will share Ali's favorite brush set with you. Then we looked at our layers, and we figured out how to add a layer and then tap and swipe left to delete the layer again. We found out that if we tap on the layer, we can get a whole load of functions that relate to it, and we're choosing rename because we want to give meaningful names to our layers, and we've looked at clear. We're not going to look at anything else there for now. And then we looked at our erasing, and we realized that our eraser can come in the same brush effects as the brushes, and we can choose to either match our brush effect and our eraser effect, or if we want a more wholesale eraser effect, we can choose a wider nibbed brush and use that for a faster effect. We had a look at opacity controls on the bottom left and nib size controls on the top left, and we found that there was all sorts of things that we could adjust to get our color at a darker or lighter opacity and a broader or narrower nib. That's it for this video. Time to move on to the next one.